Hey yo, welcome to the QB School Show. Locked in, ready to go. A little Thursday edition. Why not? A little holiday weekend over here in the States. Fired up to talk a little ball. See where this thing goes. What's going on in the world. Any Packer news that I need to know about. Yeah, no agenda, nothing serious. Locked in. There's never been a better time to hop on the chat. If you're in live, you got the notification, you're part of the notification gang. Now's the time. We're going questions. We're going hot and ready. I love it right out the gate. Alejo, boom. Let's go. Oh yeah, they're locked in, ready to go. Get this thing situated. Coach Mackey catching up to me with the sound effect game. I got to ramp this thing up still. All right, Nick. Finally a place where I can sit back and watch someone else answer Tebow questions. Tebow questions? I hope not. Johan, let's be serious. How many of you do actually play QB? I'm guessing you're talking about the people in the chat. I would imagine there's a decent amount. It's usually a nice mixture of players trying to get better at their craft, some coaches, some fans, some people trying to better understand ball. But that's the best thing about it. It's all of those buckets. Top 10 NFL quarterbacks. I don't know, man. You're going to have to go to another location for those types of rankings. I try to limit myself to only one painful ranking a year. And we just got past that, so I'm excited. Jake McDonald, thoughts on Tua this season? I'm still very high on Tua. I think the Dolphins are positioning themselves to have an opportunity to be the front runner for the foreseeable future in that division. I will obviously be interested to see what kind of the Mac Jones era looks like for the Patriots, but I like a lot of what they're doing. I still am high on Tua. I know people, for whatever reason, maybe weren't as high originally, but then got off the boat with maybe some health issues, what was going on last year, some perceived inconsistencies down the stretch. I think it's fair to give players a full year to recover, and now let's see what we got. Another year in the league, and this great opportunity for that organization to really take a step forward and surge themselves kind of out towards, not necessarily the top tier, but ascending towards the top, certainly in that division. So I'm fascinated. I'm fired up. Alejo, I did not hear that Tua did not know the playbook too well. Nick, my man, jokes. Guys got jokes. I like it. Got the UK checking in. It's got to be getting late over there, Jam J-Man. Stacy Ferris, what's good? Bruh. Afternoon. Trey Lance, can mechanics be fixed? What mechanics need to be fixed? I'm sorry. Missing high on throws, or is he screwed for life? I personally think that just about any mechanic can be fixed. That doesn't necessarily mean that it will be, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I probably agree with what your take on the mechanics issues are. I'm sure that they're just kind of finding out 49ers wise as far as what those things look like, being able to watch a player day in and day out, how they work, how they retain information, how they kind of are consistent delivering the ball with that sort of ball control. But I imagine his mechanics technique to continue to be refined, certainly his early years in the league, and just get better and better. I don't have any reason to think otherwise. John Roz, hope I said your last name correctly. Is there something we should look for in how Dak moves after his injury? Not necessarily anything specifically, I would say. Off the top of my head, I think it was an ankle. Maybe. To me, it's always about a number of different kind of like steps, right? It's the step about being back in 11-on-11 drills, to being in first live action, to being hit, to being rolled up, to be able to recover from being rolled up, all those types of things that really we won't ever have a full window in. So it's hard for me to say, yes, how does he look on his 3-step drop? I don't think that's going to be the case. LPJ, do you think Goff have success in Detroit? No. Less about Goff, more just about the, long-term track record of that organization and long-term success on the football field. Nothing against Jared Goff. Oh, Coach Grays.
Bruh.
Appreciate that.
Bruh.
Got to mix it up. It's a new one. Chad, starting to see more 3 high safeties in high school. Really? Where are you? What passing concepts do you use against a 3 high safety defense? It depends, I guess. I mean, if it's a true, I think many people classify a 3 high safety defense a little differently than I probably do. Is it a true 3 high safety defense, where they're 3 safeties at safety depth at 10-ish yards? What are they doing in the run game? For me would be my first question. I would try to pound it just numbers wise. I think of 3 high safety looks as 3rd and 12, and there's 3 guys back there, and I can't tell if they're rotating, if they're inverting, if they're playing a split field coverage. So it's hard for me to say first 3 safeties do this. I personally always consider 3 safeties just a 4-4 middle field closed, but I know some people do a lot more, and there's more. Can certainly be more multiple than that, but just the bones of it, that's how I think of it. Now, I can imagine if you face a 3-3 odd with a 3 safety look, it would get complicated quickly, but I'm not sure what level of football you're seeing that at, but to me, that's more 7-on-7 defense and not real defense consistently. I've never seen a high school team around us play 3 safeties consistently at safety depth, if that makes sense. So I probably can't give you a real reason. Digging in the trenches, what's good? T. Martin fan account. Where is T. Martin right now? Isn't T. Martin's... did I remember that? Does T. Martin's son play quarterback somewhere in college right now, or was that on high school that I saw him on ESPN? I feel like I saw it somewhere. You think Rattler is the best college football QB? I haven't watched all the college football QBs. I don't necessarily... I know this is hard for people to get just because I fall victim to it because I put out a ranking show and a faux ranking show this year, but I don't really think of it as that, pecking order list type wise. I just watch it to try to get a snapshot and see where I think guys are at for that one game. The video I'm putting out tomorrow is maybe the first time I've ever stopped watching a game. Not that, that's not true. For the channel, stopped watching a game. Just because I didn't enjoy it. I wasn't enjoying the scheme. I wasn't enjoying the performance. I didn't think it was an opportunity to be successful. And so you don't have to keep watching it. And so, but at the same time, I like watching the offenses that I like. I love the Oklahoma offense. I just do. I like how they run their counter stuff. I like how they throw the ball. I love their RPOs. I love how they run the quarterback. And there's a lot of things that I think are fun to watch. So I'm probably going to watch a lot of Spencer Rattler, and I don't necessarily think he's the best or he's the 3rd best or the guy at UNC is the best or Liberty. I just like watching high-level quarterback play. T is in Baltimore. His son is quarterback at Miami. I gotcha. See, you know more than I do, for sure. I tell you what, some good news if you're in Coronado. This is I think they're in IB, which is Imperial Beach in San Diego. It's let's see if we can see it here. Went the wrong way. Little Trident coffee, cold brew. I've only ever had it in a can. They opened up a store, almost like a tap house for beer, but for cold brew coffee. You're welcome. Daryl talks games. Who do you think starts for Texas A&M this fall? I do not know one player on Texas A&M. Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins, and why? I would probably say Kirk Cousins, and that's just me guessing that he's got better stats, but I honestly don't know. I'd have to think about it, and I don't really want to. You guys like it when I crack myself up? Oh, Michael, this is an excellent question. So, what is the difference between a slant and a glance? So, good question. This is offensive dependent also. I think it is interchangeable with the way that some people speak about it. To me, I'll just give you the general, and then I'll give you the really specific for what we do offensively at the high school level. A slant to me is a shorter route. So it's usually at like 5 yards, and you run in at a certain angle, usually around 45 degrees. A glance to me is going to be deeper, and it's got a little bit more of a steep angle, meaning a little bit more vertical, not so flat. I'm used to doing it, slant being the 3rd step and a glance being the 7th step of a route with your front foot up if you're a wide receiver. Some people count outside steps, some people count total steps, some people count yards. To me, it's about the depth of the route being a little bit shorter for a slant with a little bit more of what I'm used to calling a win angle, meaning that you've got to take an angle out of that slant that does not let that corner or defender cross your face. So it can be glance-ish, or it can be flatter, or it can almost be like an in if the guy's staying inside. So that to me is a slant. A glance is going to be a little bit more bang 80, 5-step drop if you're under center. Slant is more quick game. Glance is more mid-tier intermediate passing game. We run a slant and a glance at the high school level. Ours is a 5-yard slant and a like 7-step glance. And the glance is one of those things to me that looks great on routes on air, and it can work if you get the correct leverage, head up outside leverage versus probably a weaker defender. But I think that there are better ways to attack that area of the field with a little bit more consistency than a timed glance at the high school level. But that's just me. Jaden Scott, what's good?
Bruh.
Hopefully that made sense, Michael. Let me know if it didn't. I don't know who the company is owned by, David, to be honest with you. I've liked the coffee, though. I've drank the coffee for years. They sell it locally in cans, but never had it straight out the tap. Appreciate it, Daryl.
Nope.
Chad Redmer, do you see more odd or even front in your league? I would say we probably see more. I think most teams have the ability to do both. That's kind of a hedged answer. I would guess that those teams base out of even. I think that there are advantages to both. Really, to me, it's always going to be personnel dependent. I know when I was playing, I definitely preferred an even front just because I felt like I saw it more, practiced against it more. I was more comfortable with even spacing. Nowadays, I really don't care. It doesn't necessarily impact me play calling wise, design wise. I'm more interested in where their quote unquote like game wrecker is, or like who's the guy that gets all the tackles, where is he, that type of thing, versus is it a 2 or is it a 2-eye or is it a shade on the backside? What are we doing? Like, it's just not where my mind works when it comes to how we're going to attack a defense. Hope that makes sense. Now that's also, let me also preface that by saying that I'm very comfortable in our protection rules. Now it doesn't mean that everybody's going to get blocked perfectly all the time, but our protection has answers and tools versus even an odd, a bear, a mint, whatever you want to, the core covered, however you want to kind of frame your issues in pass protection. Those things are taught versus all those different looks so that they can solve those problems at the line of scrimmage. We're not checking into some new thing just because it's an odd or an even. Dantrell, Kelly, would you consider a glance as a skinny post? Yes and no. I would consider a glance more bang 80. A skinny post to me can mean kind of a down the field post, and it's just the angle of the post. So again, lots of semantics here. I like to find out where the route is attacking, like what level of depth is it at. To me, a glance is usually caught right around 20 yards. You know, in the league, it's like right inside the numbers. I don't know if that makes sense. Skinny post to me can be kind of an over-the-top deep post in some offenses as well. I have not seen Malachi Nelson play. Eden. What is the worst type of defense to pass against? I would say the worst type of defense to pass against is like a two-man look where they've got a great front four and you don't have anybody with any sort of quickness or agility to win consistently. It just feels like you can't take a shot. Everything has got to be an outbreaking. You don't have time for double moves or, jerkish routes to kind of create space underneath. Those are kind of my least favorite things to see. John Chipola, hello. What are your thoughts on Tim Tebow returning? Zero thoughts. Christopher Harris, do you think the Chicago Bears should start Fields day one? Yes. I'm not even going to read the rest. Yes. Jaden Scott, do you like to run your QB or no? That is a strong yes. Sorry, as I look at my watch, I got to go pick up my little guy here from school and eventually. Yes, I do love to run the quarterback. It doesn't always happen. It's always, again, dependent on the personnel. But in an ideal world, I'd have multiple quarterbacks and they could all run and they could all throw. But if they're a good athlete, I think you have to run, especially at the lower levels of football. And by lower levels, I mean college, high school, just because it's such an advantage to go 11 on 11 versus 10 versus 11 in the run game if you're not willing to run the quarterback. And it's just so many ways that you can stretch a defense horizontally, vertically in the RPO, in the RSO, run screen world, to then take advantage of light boxes. It's just, I think you got to do it. You got to be willing to do it, or else you're not taking advantage of what offenses can create nowadays. Alejo, is that a percentage sign? Percentage of video analysis on Justin Fields on home and away games. Alejo, man, I love the humor, bro. Very strong. That is a great point. It will definitely be heavy away games. That's funny. That was one of my original first thoughts when they drafted him. I'm not going to lie. It sucks. It really does. It's so bizarre. Why don't they just go higher? You're telling me that there's not like a higher spot that you could film in that stadium? Oh, man. Nash, a couple years now. We're getting close to a decade. Do you have any thoughts on, or have you been able to watch Carson Strong, quarterback out of Nevada? Fantasy Football Roundtable, perfect timing. I have no thoughts because I have not seen him play. I would love to get that film, put it out there. High alert to the... is that high alert? I guess. High alert to the quarterback school community. If you have access to all 22 Nevada film, please get a hold of me. Many different ways to do it. I would love to do that. I have not seen him. I've heard good to great things about it. Probably going to do a West Coast swing here pretty soon in June. See some like Keaton Slovis, some DTR, some Strong potentially in June if I can get the all 22. So that would be cool. Yes, I would love to be able to do that. Mike the Dog, I agree that you agree. Ace 007. What's your offense? West Coast, Air Coryell, Air Raid, Pro Set, Smash Mouth, Pistol, Spread, and Run and Shoot. What about Wing, Double Wing, Flex Bone, Slot T? It's amalgamation of all those things. It really is. It's I think the core of what we try to do offensively at the high school level is create an adaptive system that, first of all, allows us to play as fast as we want to play or to change as many tempos as we want to change, but then be as multiple as we possibly can be with what our personnel is. So the first year, I'm only going into the third year doing this, although it feels like more with the corona. The first year we started 11 and evolved to 10 personnel. Really, primarily, that's all we did. This past year, we were all over the place. We had every personnel from 0, 1, 2, 10, 11, 12, multiple iterations of 12, 13, 20, 21, 22, even messed around with some 23, 24 at one point. So it's really dependent on what the team has talent-wise and where we think we can kind of stress the defense the most. But I like being adaptive like that. Doesn't mean that it always works out that way. It's not necessarily tethered to a system either. It really takes bits and pieces from all those systems and makes it our own kind of language lexicon that we can try to speak at a really fast pace if we need to. But I try to teach them as core principles, like hey, this is 4 verticals, but we don't get in the huddle and say, okay, everybody, we're going to run 4 verticals here. We got code names for everything, and try to teach it and speak it like that. But that's kind of the overarching kind of architecture of the offense. Kentucky Ron, appreciate it. Greetings.
Cheers.
Digging in the trenches. You know it, man. It's hard to get. I would say that I probably get a comment a day on a video asking where I get the All-22 college film specifically. And the answer, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. There is not a place you go and get it. It comes from the community. It comes from people either having access to it somehow. I don't ask how they get access to it, or sending it to me, or sharing it, or me finding it somewhere. There's no like home NFL Game Pass database that I kind of rip these things from. It's just, it comes from a number of different sources. That's why I can never answer the question. Quinton, serious answer. I have not played Madden in a long time. I have no idea, bro. Sorry. Tomboy 150. Love to play Phillips' team. We're not going to Alabama anytime soon. I'm guessing that's where it is. But I bet they're going to be coached up well. He was a fun guy to be around. Simon, what attribute do you prefer in a good running back? Well, we're going to running back school. Good hands for receiving skills or good pass pro? I probably wouldn't. I would prefer them to be really good at running the ball. If they've got good hands, we got ways to work them into the down the field stuff and getting them the ball in space. The pass pro thing for me, I think when I originally started at the high school level coaching, I probably gave a little bit too much of an NFL vibe to it, meaning that, having them know what the pass pro is and being responsible for making duels and things like that, where, in high school, sometimes it's better to just get the back out of there, like go fast motion and take somebody with you, distort the defense, then they don't have to block, and we can get the ball out quickly regardless. So it's kind of a strategic change. If I was at a necessarily maybe a higher level of football, meaning college or pros, you have to carry, basically every different type of pass protection, 6-person, 7-person, 8-person play actions, movements, all those types of things that you really don't have to at lower levels of football. I don't think, I guess you could, but the pass pro is not quite as important as it is in, say, college football, or really the NFL is where it's really the most important, because if you're a running back on third down in the NFL, you have a very specialized skill set. You've got the capacity to catch the ball, win in space, but you've also got the ability to pass protect. And that's really, in my opinion, probably the hardest things for most running backs to come into the league and get just the volume of different pass protections, rules, the vision, and then you have to actually be able to get up there and blunt a linebacker type who's coming at you with a, steaming head start. Boom. Daintree Kelly, open to doing another Brock Purdy analysis. Yes, also need that all 22. Do not have this past season of, I want to say Brock Purdy is Minnesota, but it might be Iowa State. One of those two. I apologize. Simon, my man. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Crush that like if you haven't already. My man Roy, bringing back his childhood memories. Uh-oh. Jaden Scott, we always have our backs in run routes. See, I do think it is I think that is a little bit more of a strategic choice. I think that there are times when it makes the most amount of sense to have more people in the pass protection unit, specifically if you know you're going to take a shot or you want to take a shot at a certain guy or with a certain matchup, or you know you're going to get a certain look, you might as well block it up. I'm certainly guilty of that, especially in play action opportunities. But if we're in a drop back situation, I probably err on the, getting more people out than keeping more people in. But with that comes a kind of strategic change for the quarterback for me, where now you need to go from, hey, maybe I've got 3 steps and 2 resets or 2 hitches to, hey, you have 3 steps, you take a 3-step drop and you get 1 hitch and then you got to run, kind of like a 1-2 run or a 1 run versus a kind of 7-on-7 read where it's full field 1, 2, 3, 4 check down. Like that stuff is not real football consistently. And so just being able to know that difference depending on what the per protection is, what that tells the quarterback as far as their time clock and the management within the pocket. Boom. Chase.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. There you go. Fantasy football. Hook it up. You're the man. Gabriel, I remember your Wentz videos. You think he'll turn things around? I think he's got a great opportunity to. I think I'm a big fan of that kind of organization. Love Frank Wright. Feel like they've, got a lot of pieces on the other side of the ball to allow a quarterback to potentially go in there and be successful and win some games. But, who knows what's happening between his ears right now and what the change is like and whether he's, it's easy to embrace it in the offseason. It's different when things go sideways, the first month of the season or something like that. And so only time will tell. I don't think there's a reason to think that he won't. I just think it's so bizarre how kind of Philadelphia is just kind of restarted from winning a Super Bowl, which doesn't feel like that long ago, to basically a whole new regime. It's crazy. Boom. Chase, what you got? Hey, I was looking through my notes from the passing game course earlier and a question about Dragon Lion. I understand the middle field open, middle field close read, but do you think you can talk about the why behind it? That's a good question. The why behind it to me, I guess, is more about the lion element of what that looks like versus middle field open. And so for me, versus cover 2, you really don't want to throw a flat of a dragon. You don't want to throw a flat damn near ever versus cover 2, right? You got that corner who's going to be engaged with that number 1 receiver, and then you're going to run a flat right to it. So instead, let's basically try to get like pseudo 2 verticals with inside releases and kind of see what that hook defender does or curl defender does over the number 2. And if you can put it on that inside slant first, great. If he goes with that slant, then you've got a window to throw that number 1 slant, I think is how I think of it. It's just more about not throwing that flat into a rolled up corner in any situation. The flip side to that, though, is versus quarters. Sometimes the flat is the best look. So there is some, I remember playing on teams that ran a lot of Dragon Lion back in the day, and it was always, not always, it was most often middle field closed, away from rotation. I think you make the argument that it doesn't really matter. But middle field closed, basically whatever slant you want outside, best matchup. Middle field open, cover 2, the lion or the double slant side. Quarters, work, just come up, throw the flat. And I think I was around maybe Brett or Craig Knoll that were really good at that in Green Bay, and they ran a lot of Dragon Lion at the time. So that's how I kind of think about it. What's the best way to contact you to share the All-22? Chase. Appreciate that. The best way is you can get a hold of me on Twitter, and I'll give you my email. You can send me the email right here. The email is thequarterbackschool@gmail.com. See if you're not on the email list, make sure you sign up for the email list too. The link is in the description to this video. I'll put it in the chat right now. Please, not everyone send me random emails, but if you have access to it, there you go. Appreciate it if for getting a hold of that All-22, if you get it and share it. Brandon. All right, I got a couple more minutes and I got to go get the little guy. Thoughts on Tua saying he didn't know the playbook in his rookie year. I haven't seen him say he didn't know the playbook. I mean, I would guess most people don't know every element of the playbook. Again, that sounds like, as I'm saying it, that I'm making excuses for him. I don't know what he said. It's certainly part of your job to master that as quickly as you possibly can. Now, not everybody either spends the time with it or can retain it as quickly as other people, but at the same time, it's not a great thing to hear. That's for sure. There's no way to sugarcoat that if that's the truth. So hopefully he got a chance to kind of take a look at it again, dive a little bit deeper, and better kind of resonate with that stuff. Oh man, Chad. Thoughts on the Rodgers situation in Green Bay? Yeah. No. Not really. I mean, I don't pretend to know what's happening. Like, if people probably know a significant amount more than I do about this, I'll tell you the little I know. He's frustrated. They drafted someone to replace him. I guess they didn't tell him. I don't know. Like, that to me wouldn't justify this amount of frustration. I think that there are probably a number of other underlying elements that he's frustrated with that I have no idea what they are, and I don't know if other people do or don't, but I certainly don't. And I could see that there would be, some continued tension and frustration. I feel like Aaron's always had a little bit of tension around him, and I don't mean that like in a massive negative way, but that's just, it feels like that's always the case. That's not making excuses for the organization and the relationship. I certainly gotten worse, but I mean, it just seems like straight up bananas to me that a guy could be the MVP in the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row and basically be so frustrated with that organization where he's been for decade and a half plus, to be willing to walk away. I mean, just imagine what that must feel like within those major players. I honestly I have a hard time even imagining what it is. So it's got to be significant from Aaron's standpoint. It's one of those things where you really, for the game, you hope that he ends up somewhere where he is wanted and wants to play and gets an opportunity to close it out the way that he wants to close it out. But I mean, just try to like empathize with both sides of it is hard, right? Like, what the hell happened that makes it so deep ingrained? It's probably, what's the nicest way to put this? Like an overreaction from both sides, if that makes sense. It's probably easy for me to say as an outsider who doesn't really care. But it just feels like, man, how bad are people screwing this up that this is the outcome and this is where we're at right now? And again, it's probably overreaction from everybody to have, the kind of like mass hysteria that it feels like in the end of May. But man, it sure feels like it's worse than we even know it is. So I don't know. That's kind of my reaction. Boom. Simon, you're welcome. Good night. Oh man. All right, well, I think that's come and gone. Nice little Thursday midday. I appreciate everybody who liked, Appreciate everybody for supporting the channel. It means a great deal to me. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Oh, so what is today? Thursday. Tomorrow's video, Bo Nix. Monday, holiday in the States, no video. Tuesday, special edition. The last throw of my professional career. I will break it down. Someone sent it to me. I've been looking for it for a long time. I'm pretty sure it's the last throw. We're going to go with the last throw. We'll see. Look forward to that. Have a good one. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks again.